Welcome to Recapify. A young ladybird must face the hardships of the wild and risk his own life after losing his wings in order to save his ant friends. Today's movie recap is about the story of the 2013 movie Minuscule, Valley of the Lost Ants. A married couple decides to have a picnic in the forest on a lovely Sunday. The young woman starts experiencing contractions during reading a book and informs her hubby that her waters have burst. Quickly, the man grabs the picnic basket, his belongings, and rushes to his car with his wife, leaves all of the food behind. In the jungle, 3 new ladybirds were born. Their parents were trying to teach them how to fly. However, they are still learning how to use their wings. One of the ladybirds stumbles and mocked by a little fly. When the insect departs, the ladybird tries to fly again and joins the rest of his family in exploring the jungle. After a few minutes, while flying over a pond, the ladybird runs into the same fly. The fly laughs in his face once more. The ladybird, irritated, pursues after the insect but falls into a trap. When the insect landed, its brethren, the flies, come and attempt to capture the ladybird. At that moment, the unfortunate ladybird runs away in an attempt to flee, but chased by the group of flies. On his escape, she collides with a boulder and falls into a pit hidden beneath it. The ladybird loses one of its wings because it falls. The flies arrive to see if their opponent has been killed, and when they discover the bug is motionless, they agree to leave. Hours passed and at night a storm arrives. As the ladybird eventually awakens, she learns he can no longer fly. Terrified by the dozens of eyes watching him, Ladybird decides to go through the jungle in quest of a secure location to shelter from the storm. The ladybird seeks refuge under some mushrooms but forced to leave when it notices that nasty snails rule the region. A few meters ahead, the ladybird discovers a container and enters through a small opening in the cover. Despite the fact that she is alone and terrified, she recognizes that this is the ideal spot to spend the night. The next day, the youngster hears a variety of insects buzzing around the container. She quickly realizes that the location is a treasure trove, and that everyone is fighting for the greater chunk of the food. Even a box of match is a reason for dispute among insects. Moments later, a party of ants arrives at the spot carrying some provisions. Mandible believes at this point that there could be something fascinating in that location and asks his crew to wait until he investigates. When the ladybird notices the incoming insects, she retreats into the container to hide, and the ant pursues her. The little ant gets an energy boost after consuming a portion of the sugar and summons his companions to help him transport that treasured meal to the colony. The ants now leave the stuff they've collected from the jungle and fan out around the container, taking it away. However, the ladybird goes undetected inside, ignorant to what is going on. She only notices anything is off when the ants attempt to pass a rock wall. The clumps within begin to shift from side to side. The container, alongside Mandible, is toppled over moments later, and the sugar lumps, as well as the ladybird, are tossed out. While the workers are refilling the container with sugar, they come upon the insect laying on its belly, and one attempts to assist it up. When the ladybird is frightened, she exhales an exceedingly lethal gas to defend herself, forcing the ant to pass out. A lizard then arrives and moves towards its prey. The ants hide behind the sugar lumps to avoid being spotted. Mandible, on the other hand, has been discovered and is ready to be eaten in order to preserve the bug. In an attempt to scare the creature away, the ladybird returns to the container and begins creating a scary sound. The terrified reptile retreats. The ants made it through another day in the jungle. Mandible befriends the ladybird and invites her to join his group as a thank you for saving his group. The little ladybird is no longer lonely. The ants resume the journey a long distance to the colony, persisting despite encountering a number of hurdles just several meters away. Mandible is able to communicate with his colony fellows via his antenna and informs that he will be returning shortly. A group of red ants spots the workers as they walk under the rock carrying the massive load, led by the cruel Buter. Buter and his group want to fight over the food, so they circle the route. In order to restore peace, Mandible takes a lump of sugar and offers it to his opponents. The red ants then leave, but they are not pleased with that small clump and start to pursue their opponents. Seeing that his group is in risk, Mandible devises an escaping strategy that involves leveraging gravity to his benefit and climbing down the mountain on top of the can with all of his group members. But Buter does not intend to give up so easily and uses a rusty soda can to roll down the mountain. Immediately after, the two groups are carried away by the stream after falling down a waterfall. They must avoid some rocks in order to continue their journey until the red ants catch up to their opponents and push the container where they want it. The ladybird falls into the water at that point and is swept away by the current while being pursued by a fish. The fish swims away at breakneck speed until it collides with a rock. However, he soon recovers and continues his hunt. While the fish tries to reach the ladybird, the black ants band together to build a bridge and remove their friend out of the water. As they discover they've reached the bottom of the waterfall, to avoid the fall, the ants take refuge in the sugar container. Yet, they are not alone. The strange fish and crimson ants are on their way. The soda dips and get caught in the sand, forcing the group to leave it. The fish has the same fate. Unfortunately, his situation is worsened by the reality that he is unable to pull his own head out of the sand. As they approach the banks of the waterfall, Mandible and his group decide to leave the kin behind and go on their way, carrying only the clumps. Ladybird comes across his former family flying across the forest and attempts to catch up with them. Unfortunately, she still only has one of his wings and is unable to fly. Furious, she returns to the route and rejoins the group. They must find a safe area to sleep over the night in order to have the energy to complete the job the next day. What they don't realize is that the red ants are still seeking the sugar and are tracking their movements, waiting for the best moment to attack. Fortunately, the ladybird notices that his pals are being pursued and alerts Mandible. In time, the black ants run across the street, and when they see a vehicle approaching, Beater's gang gets scared and takes off, leaving their leader alone. When they reach at the colony, the workers bring the food inside, and Mandible notices that his friend Ladybird is not pleased. After all, he's the only different insect. Mandible invites his friend to accompany him and presents each piece of the colony in order to make Ladybird feel part of this big family. The workers bring various types of food to the queen, and she lays an egg every time she feeds. Now it is Mandible's turn to present his offering by taking a small bite out of the sugar clump. The queen is bursting with energy and releases thousands of eggs all at once. Buter is hidden outside the settlement, plotting an ambush against his enemies. The ant returns to its ant colony and proceeds to the queen's room after examining its rival's weak areas. After notifying His Majesty of what has occurred, the creature proposes starting war on the opposing ants. After hearing his advisor's remarks, the queen instructs her workers to band together, attack the enemy colony, and take the precious food. Thousands of ants rush forward, armed to the teeth with sticks and thorny. The army's objective is to reach enemy territory by nightfall, and they achieves in this mission. At dusk, the black ants close their colony and prepare to rest. As he sleeps, the ladybird dreams of his family and imagines the day when he can fly again under the flower beds, tasting the delicious nectar of the plant. Suddenly, during the dream, the insect wakes up and goes outside. The ladybird tests its wings and tries to fly again, but its new wing is still being born and is not strong enough to lift its body weight. Instead of being disheartened, the little red ladybird's hopes are restored, and it is thrilled to know it'll eventually be capable of flying again. An earthquake wakes up the black ants the next morning. They all leave the colony to investigate what is going on, and they soon come across the formidable enemy army. The maniacs arrive armed with slingshots, forks, and even pesticides, all for a few sugar lumps. The red ants use slingshots to shoot all sorts of weapons at the rival colony, but the black ants do not let this attack come cheap. They throw cotton swabs and aspirin to eliminate those monsters. Nonetheless, the chances of victory remain extremely low, despite the fact that they are in their domain. The black ants had no idea their home would be decimated by metal weaponry. In an emergency meeting with the queen, Mandible discovers that there are some bombs hidden in the colony, and this is the perfect moment to use them. The ants spread their arsenal on top of the colony while their enemies try to break in using a pine cone to knock down the stone gate after reading the instructions for use located on the matchbox. Mandible takes the only matchstick available and manages to light the fire by rubbing the tip of the match against the side of the box. He then lights one of the wicks. After flying everywhere, the firecracker lands and, by chance, destroys a large portion of the enemy force. However, before Mandible can light the rest of the firecrackers, the fire goes out. In realizing this, Buter tells his warriors to launch an all-out assault, hurling forks and bombs everywhere. Ladybird knows that the only way for his friends to survive is to use the firecrackers to defend themselves. While looking at the matchbox, she remembers that she saw something similar in the middle of the forest where the container with the sugar lumps was. The little creature then has the idea of going there to get the box and receives full support from Mandible, who instructs the workers to make a little plane with a bill to get the ladybird out safely. The red ants try to spray insecticide on the ladybird. Nevertheless, the poison turns against them and kills a portion of their army. The ladybird succeeds to fly on his own after the plane lost height and crashes over. Because his wing has grown big enough in this moment, he becomes the colony's only hope. The ladybird reverses her journey to return to where it all began. It takes a few short pauses to feed and then keeps going until it realizes that its wings have completely grown. Upon arriving at the picnic site, the little ladybird realizes that all the food has been taken, but the matchbox remains there. She tries to lift the object, but he can't carry all that. The ladybird hides as a little spider comes. The spider takes the box and takes it away, but the ladybird pursues it. After all, she needs those matches to save his friends again. The little ladybird crosses the forest. It is already night, and she continues walking in order to find out where that spider intends to take the object. The spider enters a tunnel and the ladybird carefully walks through, aiming to find a way to steal that box. When it reaches the end of the tunnel, the insect is surprised to discover that the spider lives inside a doll's house and proceeds in silence, so as not to be noticed. Meanwhile, a frog is on the prowl, hiding in a puddle of water, waiting for an opportunity to swallow its prey. The ladybird walks through the house and spots the spider using the matchsticks as a frame to build his web. At that moment, the amphibian appears at the window and sticks its sticky tongue on the. It then drags the ladybird along as he desperately tries to get. Upon realizing the invasion, the spider is startled and everything gets worse in the next few seconds when the ladybug clings to the window while being pulled along, and as a result, the house ends up falling on top of the frog. After the fall, the ladybird loses consciousness and dreams once again of the day she can fly free with his family through the forest. When she wakes up, she realizes that she has been rescued by the spider, who soon offers a fruit for his colleague to eat. After feeding, the little red one informs us that she needs to take that box of matches to save his friends, and the spider claims not to care. Now, with a few less sticks, the box is much lighter and the ladybird can carry it during the flight. With part of its mission complete, the insect will have to face another long journey to get the box to the colony in time. If it takes too long to reach the colony, it may be too late and the red ants will have already won. Halfway there, the ladybird spots a gang of insects cornering a child ladybird and realizes that these are the same flies that caused him to lose her wing. Furious, she drops the box and goes to face those flies. The ladybird releases a gas at one of the fleece faces in order to lure them into a trap. The first attempt is to get the insects stuck in a spider's web, but they are flying so fast that they get through the web. The second strategy is to attract them to the streets. When it spots an approaching car, the ladybird flies toward it and swerves at the last second. However, the flies fail to swerve and are knocked over as they collide with the vehicle's headlight. After getting rid of those flies, the ladybird returns to check if his colleague is okay and gets a kiss as a form of thanks. Then the couple says goodbye, for the little creature has a duty to perform. But before she leaves, she promises that they will meet again soon, when the colony was already practically destroyed and all seemed lost. For the black ants, they hear the arrival of their ladybird friend, who is arriving with reinforcements. It is late afternoon the next day, which means that the battle began more than 24 hours ago. After greeting his good friend, Mandible and his team light all the firecrackers at once. In wait, the fireworks start spinning wildly around the ant hill and some explode into the sky, creating a beautiful light show. However, most of them come back and explode along with the red ants. The fire is caused and the insecticide explodes due to the heat, eliminating even more invaders. Faced with this, Buter and his soldiers' only option is to retreat. The problem now is to get that fire put out, because at the end of the battle, the fire continues. Fortunately, when humans noticed smoke coming from the jungle, they dispatched a jet to extinguish the fire, and all the insects managed to survive. The ants emerge from their colony the next morning to look what is left of their colony. Weeks have passed since the war. Ladybird now has his own family. The insect teaches his entire family how to fly, and they fly over a flower bed peacefully, exactly as the ladybird had imagined. However, the ants are diligently rebuilding the ant colony because winter is approaching and they need to be ready. Even so, they came through it all together, and the ladybird remained great friends with whom they. What did you think of this movie recap of Minuscule, the epic quest of ants and ladybird in Minuscule Valley? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like the video, like it and subscribe for more movie recaps.